Hello, good morning, good evening, good whatever. Oz and Commish back again for episode 46 of High and Outside, an irreverent sports ball podcast. Please check out our social media at AOK Worldwide on Twitter. You can find all of our episodes on iTunes and Spotify. And you can also find our episodes at www.aokworldwide.com. It will get you where you need to go. We'll put a link to our YouTube channel when we post this episode on Twitter. And we post all of our video casts, fun other videos which you want to check out. So please check out our YouTube channel as well. Now, Commish, one-hitters.
It's the hockey playoffs, so we'll do a little update. Teams.
Hockey playoffs.
Yes. You know we like it. All right, three teams have already sealed their, they've moved on to the second round. Avalanche, who swept the Blues.
That series was not close.
Left them black and blue, if you will. Like an avalanche of wins over them. Just rushing them out of the playoffs. Anyway, the Boston Bruins washed out the Capitals. They did not sweep them. And then the Winnipeg Jets flew over the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah,
and they also swept.
Connor McDavid, best player in hockey by a wide margin, swept in the first round of the playoffs.
Sucks.
It does suck. All right, what's still going on though?
And then let's Vegas. Everything's about 3-2 or 3-1. Vegas Golden Knights lead Minnesota. Toronto Maple Leafs lead the Canadiens. New York Islanders lead the Penguins 3-2. Carolina Hurricanes just downgraded to a tropical storm, but they're still in the lead, but it's 3-2. And then Tampa Bay Lightning are up on the Florida Panthers 3-2. On to MLB. Pending there's a game right now, but the Royals have clawed their way back to 500.
Yeah, they've been playing much better lately.
Yeah, 23 and 23.
Mondesi just got fully back. They reinstated Mondesi, so could be a bright thing. They stopped the Rays' 10-game win streak last night.
Yeah, they're one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Dude, back to the hockey playoffs real quick. Can you imagine? I think in the next round, if the Lightning and the Hurricanes win, they'll meet. So it'll be Lightning and Hurricanes. How many puns?
Oh, I don't think my brain can function at that level of punness necessary to really do that storm of a matchup.
A brainstorm,
justice.
if you will.
Yes, I need to brainstorm. I love it. See? Love it. NFL. Julio Jones says no to the Cowboys.
He says no to Atlanta, but also no to the Cowboys.
Yes.
Man, whoever gets Julio, it's awesome for you.
Broncos, baby. And then the college softball super regionals, which is their round of 16, start tomorrow, 27 through 30. Your I guess your law school is still in it.
Yeah, OU.
Number
Let's
one,
go.
right?
They're the best team in the country. Patty, natty for Patty. Get your natty light for the weekend, people. Free advertising, not
you heard it here.
Get in the DMs if you want to get on this paid advertising.
We like your pod. Can we send you some beer?
Seriously. If I get that DM, I'm answering.
Yeah. And then EPL ended, Man City won, and then because they have relegation, Fulham, West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United down to the champions. And then Man U, Chelsea, and Liverpool rounded up the top four. So they do UEFA Champions League next year. And because I really want to talk about Monaco, let's move on to...
Hey, what's the haps?
Monaco, the Grand Prix. Did you watch?
I did.
Me too. It was an eventful Monaco Grand Prix, mainly from qualifying until the start of the race, and then not so eventful after that.
That's how Monaco
goes. But Charles Leclerc and their Ferrari, the Scuderia, they are ready. They win the pole. He crashes in his final qualifying lap,
which then also affected other people's starting positions.
Yeah, because it sealed the pole for him. There were other Verstappen and Bottas were both out there on what they thought were going to be pole type laps, and then he crashes best. And it just cuts it off. But he wins pole, crashes on final lap, and they can't get the car ready.
They tried, but did not get it done.
So he ends up wasting the pole at the Monaco Grand Prix. Verstappen,
no car. Yeah, they still line up in their order, but there's no one car.
Verstappen takes advantage, who qualified second, and just basically holds on to the lead the whole time.
Which is just what Monaco is.
Yeah, and what did you think of Lewis Hamilton talking about how he thinks that they need to revamp Monaco because it's too boring in the current race?
I mean, they do. It doesn't even currently pass the F1's safety regulations. You can't pass anybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool that it is just a pole position race, and it's really don't fuck it up.
Yeah. There was some interesting stuff Mercedes just had a terrible weekend.
Oh.
Hamilton he got fastest lap, so he got some points there, but otherwise he ended up finishing P6, I think. And then
that was a pit strategy failure.
And I just don't know that they had again, it's you can't pass anyone, so they were kept trying to get past Gasly, but it's just there's nowhere to do it. And then Bottas had a terrible weekend.
Oh man,
they couldn't get the wheel nut off during a pit stop, and he just ends up
and because of from what I understand, the physics behind it, when it torqued it just basically made the axle became one with the bolt.
Yeah.
So there's they said if it wasn't cross-threaded, they said the coverage was well, you just hit it with a hammer.
Right.
That was not possible, and then done.
Yep, race over. Mercedes has a terrible weekend. Verstappen wins, takes over the lead in the Drivers' World Championship, which he has never led, even though he's been a prominent F1 fan. It's just the domination of
Mr. Lewis Hamilton.
And
it's still 105 to 100.
Yeah, he's still
he's still leading, which is awesome, but that's how dominant Lewis Hamilton is.
Anything else about Monaco? I mean, Monaco is just it's just the views. It's fun. It's just
it's an event.
Yeah, it's an event for sure. The yachts and all that stuff. There were some people there.
Yeah, there was a bunch of yachts.
It wasn't a full the stands and stuff weren't full, but there were definitely lots of party people out and the yachts and all that. So
party people.
It was a Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Speaking of people at sporting events, NBA playoffs. We had our first weekend of the NBA playoffs. It's now we're recording on Wednesday, the 26th. So right now we have Knicks, Hawks, and Wizards, Sixers both happening right now. And then there is also another game later tonight, which is I forgot now. Anyway, we had our first weekend of it's Memphis, Utah.
Yeah,
Game
Memphis,
2 of Memphis, Utah. Sorry. We have a full weekend of NBA playoff basketball. All the series got started. Commish, did you watch playoff basketball this weekend?
As much as I could. And those 9 o'clock 9:30 games, it's man.
Yep, they got to get those the West Coast teams, man. It's just
I can't.
It's hard to make it. It's hard to make it through them. This weekend, though, one of the things that just across the board, we had fans at the Garden, we had fans in Philly. There were fans there was limited fans at most or all of the games, but the crowds at MSG and in Philly and
wasn't pumped in.
Yeah, it was just really cool to have full crowds for playoff basketball. It reminds you just of how intense playoff basketball can be.
Oh yeah.
But there was also some really, really good games.
Oh my goodness, there's so many good plays, so many good games. It was a really good weekend of really good basketball.
So let's just run down kind of where things stand a little bit. We can talk about each series. So out in the West, you have last night the Lakers, or I guess we'll start seeding order, 1-8. We're just talking about Memphis, Utah. Game 2 is tonight. Memphis steals game 1 in Utah.
That's huge.
It is huge. It also felt it was one of those game 1s that between a 1-8 that didn't feel shocking, which sometimes, last year, both the 1 seeds lost in the first round of the playoffs. Not the whole series, obviously, but they lost their first game. And both times I was just like, eh. Like, it didn't feel... It felt shocking. It felt surprising, but then but like ultimately I was like, I'm not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
After watching Memphis Jazz, I was like, if I was the Jazz, I might be like a little nervous at this point. The Grizzlies are playing with house money. John Morant is a young stud. They don't really have anybody to deal with him. He got wherever he wanted. Gobert got in foul trouble. Like, obviously the Jazz didn't have Mitchell, so like you got to take it with a grain of salt. But it also seems weird that they didn't have him because all indications were he was going to play, and then he didn't. So did he like re-injure himself? Like, what's going on with Mitchell? You know, it's kind of shocking that it was a little bit shocking, but then at the same time when I watched the game, I was like, Memphis seems like they can just hang with Utah if they want to, and
play their same tune.
That series is going to be an interesting one to watch. Moving down in the West, last night Lakers tie the series up with the Suns. The Suns are dealing with Chris Paul shoulder injury.
Did you see that stat last night where like that they before a team's winning percentage before Chris Paul joins and the winning percentage after Chris Paul joins? Like, all of them are better.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
he's done
huge.
this now 3 straight places. Like, you know, well, I mean, he's done it at every place he's been basically, but more recently, like, he took that young Thunder team last year that had no business being anywhere near the playoffs, and they end up making the playoffs in the 4-5 matchup. And then this year, this young Suns team, like, he's now guided them to the 2 seed. Like, he's incredible, man. They need him to get healthy if they're going to win this series. It already
100%.
felt like they were weirdly like a higher seeded underdog, just because obviously the Lakers and AD and LeBron, and then in game 1, Ayton really held his own. AD didn't really show up. LeBron didn't score the ball well. LeBron still looks a little gimpy to me. Like, it looks like his legs are not like fully there yet. That ankle sprain is still bothering him. But ultimately, in game 2, the reason that most people didn't like this matchup for the Suns, which is that they don't have anybody who can handle Anthony Davis, that showed up in game 2. Davis goes for 34. Like, you know,
Dominant.
And it's going to be a fun series, though. I mean, the game never really felt out of hand, even though the Lakers were winning most of the game. It never felt like it got out of hand. It's the same way in game 1. Like, they were back and forth a lot. It's just a fun series.
Dude, there was so much back and forth during that game. It was awesome.
Yeah. And then moving down to the 3-6, Nuggets Trailblazers. That series is even.
What a game, what I could stay up for.
Yeah.
Dame just kept hitting threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had 8 in the first half. It's like, goodness gracious.
But it wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't, but it was still awesome.
Yeah, it was a great matchup of 2 like MVP type guys, Lillard and Jokic. Lillard 42 and 10, Jokic 38, 8 and 5. Like, 2 just like kind of mammoth performances. But the Nuggets, it was huge for them to get that win, because Portland is one of those teams where, like, because they have Dame Lillard who can take over a game at any time, like, if you let the whole team get momentum, like, they can make a run, I think.
CJ McCollum.
Yeah,
like,
I just think they feed off each other, and you don't want to be going back to Portland, because Portland, the crowds, if they allow crowds, which I don't know if they are, but if they have a home crowd at all, that's going to amp them up, and that's a team you don't want to be 0-2 going into. So winning that game for the Nuggets, they're getting good production out of Michael Porter, Jokic, obviously really good, but both those West Conference series that are 1-1, like, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm interested to see if Utah can tie it up tonight, but I think we're in for some long series on the Western Conference side. The last series on the West may not be headed for a long series. Mavs last night take a 2-0 series lead over the Clippers in LA. The Clippers now have to go to Dallas down 0-2. And the nightmares for the Clippers just continue. At some point, it just feels like you're the Clippers, so it's just going to happen. Bad things are going to happen.
You don't, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you have Kawhi, you get Kawhi Leonard, you get Paul George, you've got this incredible roster that last year everybody was like, this is the team that's going to beat the Lakers. This
Going
is the team.
to the distance.
We're doing it. Kawhi, he's a winner. He's the least Clipper of all time. He's a winner. Like, what do? They go down to the bubble
He's
and they
a
get
buzzsaw, not a Clipper.
Yeah, what do? They go down to the bubble and they get beat in the second round by Denver. It's like, what are we doing this year? 0-2 to Dallas already. Luka, looks like maybe the best player, one of the best players in the world. Like, can anybody guard Luka Doncic? Anybody? 39, 7-7, and just carving them up. That series, I don't want to say it's over because
it's not over.
It's not over, but oof. Tough look. East side.
Oh, that's the mouse to my computer, not
East side. Sixers have a 1-game lead. They have only played 1 game in that series. They're halftime right now at the game 2. The Sixers beat the Wizards in game 1. The series does not interest me at all. Mainly because I just think that the Sixers are a lot better than the Wizards, and it's like
71 to 57 right now.
Exactly. The Sixers in game 2 are up by 14 at halftime. Like, it's maybe the only series in all of the playoffs where I'm like, don't really care about watching it because it just feels like that big of a mismatch. Otherwise, most of the matchups are pretty good. I guess Boston, Brooklyn might get to that point. Boston, Brooklyn is fun to watch because I like watching KD and Kyrie and Harden, see how all that works. And you thought maybe the Celtics would be competitive. They've kept it competitive a little bit in game 1 for a while. Last night it was never competitive. Brooklyn has a 2-0 series lead in there. Again, it did not look competitive at all last night. I would be surprised if that series doesn't end in 4 games. At this point, what are the Celtics playing? They don't have Jaylen Brown. I don't know, it's just not their year, man. It's just a terrible matchup for them.
Yeah.
Let's get to round 2 for the Nets. Really fun series that has not thus far yielded the results. Well, I guess game 1 was really good. Bucks Heat.
Yeah, tough.
Game 1 was awesome. Jimmy Buckets getting you to overtime, although he didn't play very well. He hasn't played very well in either game, but he ends up getting them into overtime in game 1. But they get just smoked in game 2.
Yes, they did. 34 points.
Yeah, the Heat were smoking. 98-132. Giannis, 31, 13, and 6. Just again, it was never close. The Bucks scored 46 points in the first quarter, so that's not a good way to start a game.
No.
So we'll see.
It's hard to win if you score less points than the other team.
Yeah, but if you give up 46 points in the first quarter, that's.
What did they forget there was a game?
That's 46
like. Points?
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, is that a record?
I don't think so. No.
Damn, what's the poor teams that they got more in the first quarter than?
I don't know, but
somebody knows. Basketballreference.com probably.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. They don't have a producer. I want to know now.
But they do say, it's 2-0 Bucks. The saying in all 7-game series or across all sports is the series doesn't start until a home team loses. So, you're not expecting to go to Milwaukee necessarily and get one. You hope you can steal one, but you're coming back to Miami. You can get 2 games there, and then you're back even. That series still feels like it's going to be competitive because that first game was so good, and I just think going back to Miami, compared to going back to the Clippers Mavs, now the Clippers are going. They already lost 2 games at home, so now they got to go on the road. Whereas Miami, we just lost the games that most people would expect us to lose. It's fine.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Hope so.
Obviously,
I hope they don't get swept.
Knicks Hawks final series to talk about.
They're playing
really
right now.
Fun.
Yes.
Really fun. I hoped it would be fun. When they set this matchup, I hoped it would be fun. But there was a little part of me that's it's still the Knicks and it's still the Hawks. Mm-hmm. But man, that just goes to show you what having a packed MSG will do, because that crowd and watching that game and the back and forth that it turned into with that crowd was just electric. So much fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most fun I've had watching professional basketball in a while.
Trying to remember how much of the game I watched. I watched more than a quarter.
I watched most of the second half, and then, I watched all of the second half and then through the end of the game. And it was just back and forth, man. People hitting big shots. The Knicks had Alec Burks, who was like out of nowhere, like making big shots. Trae Young was doing like Trae Young things
He
and
looked good, man.
shushing the Garden, like telling the Garden that it's quiet in here now after they were chanting "Fuck Trae Young, fuck Trae Young." Supposedly tonight's chant is "Trae is balding." But man, the fact that Trae Young is becoming a New York villain is like great for the league. Like that's what we need. We need somebody that they can like. We need some animosity. That's what I'm talking about. Like
Rivalries.
hell yeah, dude. I was into it, and I'm excited. Like they're playing right now. It's a 7-point game into the first quarter. The Hawks lead by 7. I'm excited to watch because this is another game at the Garden. It's one of those series that it just tells you how much the Garden matters and how much the crowd matters, because like when it goes back to Atlanta, like I'm going to be excited, but I'm not going to be as excited.
Right.
You know? And, like it really does matter. Like, and you know, that just was kind of my biggest takeaway of the whole weekend of watching NBA. It felt like, we all know that the pandemic is not over, right? It's still going on. There's people all over the world that are still dealing with it. We're still concerned about our Olympics. Like supposedly the Olympics might not happen, so like it's definitely not over. But this weekend, from an American sports standpoint, was the first time where it was like, oh man, it really feels like this is like a different thing. Like we've turned, even if we haven't really turned a corner, sports for whatever reason has. And that leads us to Phil at Kiowa on this week's edition of
The Clubhouse.
The Clubhouse.
Thank you, Nathan. I'm pretty proud of that. We talked about it, and we did it.
So,
I guess for people who are listening and not watching on YouTube, we have this little device now that drops down our little hats.
yeah.
For a Clubhouse.
Check out the video cast if you're not watching. It's fun.
It's the little things.
So, Phil at Kiowa. Did you hear? I don't know if you heard this, but Phil became the oldest player to ever win a major.
50 years and 11 months, I think.
Yeah. Man, it was awesome.
Yes.
It was one of the best like golf majors I've seen in a while, but even though it felt like on Sunday, like nobody ever really actually made a charge at Phil.
Yeah.
Like but they were also never completely out of touch because that golf course had so many perils on it that you were just like, even though Brooks was 4 shots back at one point, even though Louis was that far back, even whatever, you were always like, it's still a chance. And like even on 17, Brooks has a birdie putt. Phil's chopping out of the long like stuff, and you're like, oh man, what if he blades this into the water or something? And you're just like, oh, this whole tournament could swing. And they were even going to 18. They were a birdie bogey away from a playoff between him and Brooks. So, and then you add in the fact that you had Happy Gilmore scenes happening behind Phil as he's trying to hit shots. Like Brooks Koepka's getting swarmed and like almost trampled in this like crowd of people, like fucking Nancy Kerrigan and shit. And like, what is going on?
Yeah, you did. What a great reference. I love it. Only on here,
I was
folks.
just like, I was watching and I was like, this is ridiculous and insane. Like, look how many people are
they had
all
to
around
wait for
Phil.
him.
They like literally had to like guide him back to the green as if he's like the lead singer at an Incubus concert in 1998. Like,
That's the band?
whatever, like a young
Of all the bands, you chose Incubus? That's a wild card, man.
I'm thinking of like prime time, like primo, like all of the teenagers and everything are like packed into like, I mean, there's plenty of examples, but
I'm just Incubus of all bands.
I don't know why that came to my head. It just did. All right, whatever.
I have no ill feelings against Incubus, but I don't think I've ever heard you once ever mentions Incubus, and I've known you for how many years? So
Whatever. It was nuts. The scene at Kiowa.
at one point they're like, I think Phil was like, "Where's Brooks?"
Yeah,
and
he
like,
was. He's coming.
Yeah, he's stuck in the crowd. It's like, what? It was. Yeah. It was
It
nuts.
literally, like, some of the pictures of, like, when Phil hit the shot, his last approach shot on 18, like, the people, it looked like it's something out of Happy Gilmore. Like, literally, I would have been fine with Brooks being like, how am I supposed to hit this shot with that going on? Can we get a ruling? Like, literally, Phil hits his shot, and the people are rushing up so much. And Brooks has to hit his ball, and there's so many people around him, and I'm just thinking, to me, I'm just like, how in the world does anyone hit a golf shot with that happening around them?
Yeah. I mean, he's mentally tough, but that's fucking nuts.
It was incredible. It was wild to see. It was this weird feeling of, like, I had a lot of, like, weird anxiety about it, but then I also was like, this is still really cool. And just, like, I hope all those people are vaccinated or whatever. And, like, this isn't, like, a spreader event, but, like,
Right,
holy
for
shit.
sure.
It was cool.
Oh, and
It reminded me of when Tiger won the Tour Championship a few years ago. And, like, won, it was, like, number 82 or whatever that tied Sam Snead. And it was, like, all those people at the Tour Championship were just, it was, like, Tiger leading his people down the fairway. It was just, like, that's what it felt like with Phil. Like, it was like,
we shall follow you.
Father Phil leading his people to the 18th green, where he will collect, he'll collect his 6th major championship, oldest to ever do it. Also at a golf course that was fucking hard.
Right? At one point, I forget the dude's name, but he went from 1 under to 10 over in a hole.
Yeah, on 17 he made the 10.
Or he went from 1 or 2 under to 10 over in 1 hole.
Yeah.
A pro golfer is like, man, that's how difficult. And the winds
I think it was David
opposite
Duval.
direction.
David Duval was talking about that, and he's like, it's not like he's just like that bad or not trying. Like, he's like, that's how hard this is. Like, you make a mistake and it just all falls apart, and it punishes you. Because, like, he made on 17, he made like a 10, and then on 18 he made a double. And, like, but then he was like, he went off number 10, so 17 and 18 were his last few holes, and then he got through number 4, and then the wind switches, because it goes out one way and out back the other. And once the wind switched, he ended up shooting, like, for the back 9, like, I think he was like 4 under par or something. Yeah. But it's just so freaking hard. Also really cool. Like, just a beautiful golf course with all sorts of weird intricacies and, like, cool, like, little niches and, like, different grasses, and the whole fact that you can ground your club in a bunker because it's not actually a bunker, it's a sandy area. Like, we should have more golf tournaments at Kiowa. Like,
yes, 100%.
It's the second time it's had the PGA. They had the Ryder Cup there a while ago, and supposedly it's one of the best Ryder Cups of all time, and I can see why. Like, there's all this risk reward. There's, like, punishment. Like, you could have a match, like a match play match, where everybody's just making bogey to, like, have holes because it's that hard. Like, it'd be a lot of fun. Like, that place is awesome. I loved Kiowa as a venue. I really liked Kiowa. I really liked the way the tournament played out. Obviously, having Phil in the lead is just, like, going to draw people. They did a huge, PGA Championship did a huge number on Sunday, way outpaced all the NBA games. Like, people were
locked in, yeah.
Phil and Tiger still, they move the needle for golf. It is what it is.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely.
And I mean, having Brooks in there too obviously is also a good thing. I mean, Brooks, 4-time major champion,
hater of Bryson DeChambeau.
Just utter disdain. Like, that is literally
the best adjective.
Just great meme, and, like, just such disdain. Like, he just hates that guy with, like, everything inside of him. He's just walking by, and it's just like, and then he loses his train of thought, and he just mumbles "fuck that" to himself. It's just like, He literally, Keystone says, I can't think because of this bullshit going on behind me.
Fucking hate that guy. Oh, it's awesome. That's great for golf.
It is great for golf.
More people.
I can't wait for them to be paired together at the U.S. Open. Please give us that. Please, USGA, do not overthink this. It's not that hard. Bryson is the defending champion. Prior to him, it was Brooks. So the past two champions of the U.S. Open, they're sitting there for you to pair them. And they also happen to hate one another.
Oh, man.
And people will tune in for that shit. People are petty, and they like to watch people fight. Come on.
It's the meme's gonna go around, so some people, like, if they find out that happens, they will watch it just for the meme's sake.
No, it's also the perfect meme of, like, put one thing that just hates the other behind on Brooks, and then put the thing that they hate on Bryson. Is like perfect. I saw one that was like, Bryson. It said when any analyst ranks quarterbacks above Patrick Mahomes, and it's like Brooks is all Chiefs fans. It's like, or all of the AFC West whenever the national media hype train starts for the Chargers to win the West again this year. It's like every year. Like, this is great meme shit. Great for golf. Just feed into it. And then speaking of Bryson was also in the news because he got announced for part of another one of the Capital One charity matches. Stellar matchup. Phil and Tom running it back. Phil and Brady running it back against Bryson and Rogers. You have... did you see Brady's post about this on Facebook? Because the shit talk has already started.
Oh, yeah, as it should.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. Brady posts 2 champions versus a scientist and a Jeopardy host. And then Bryson comes back with, after you meet me and Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be as deflated as those balls in the AFC Championship game. I'm just like, this is amazing. But also, like, they paired the 2 weirdest motherfuckers together. Rodgers is, like, notoriously weird and, like, off the wall, eccentric, like, kind of also competitive asshole. And then, like, Bryson is, like, you know, way too, like, out there with, like, his what he thinks he's doing and what he's actually doing, and like math, and like he thinks he's putting out this image, but his image is actually like, oh, that's corny as fuck. Like,
works though.
Works on Alex.
He's won the U.S. Open. Like,
well, I'm saying his golf works. I'm saying the personality stuff does not.
Oh, I don't listen to what he says.
There you go.
Like his golf.
Well, anyway, it's gonna be I think it'll be pretty funny.
Yes.
And also, Rodgers is obviously in the news still, like
getting hammered in Miami or whatever.
He's in Hawaii with Miles Teller and his fiance. What's her name?
He does not want to go to the Packers.
No.
Not at all.
He went on. Did you see Kenny Mayne? It was Kenny Mayne's last Sports Center. Shout out Kenny Mayne.
Hi, Kenny Mayne.
Kenny Mayne's last Sports Center. He has Rodgers come on from Hawaii. And he's asking him all this stuff, and Rodgers actually asked him some serious stuff, which, you know, Rodgers said basically, like, it's not about any of my teammates, it's not about the Green Bay people, it's not even about the coaches, it's just about the organizational, like, philosophy thing. But then the best thing was Kenny was telling a story, and he was like, the last time I talked to Aaron Rodgers, he told me that I needed to invest in cryptocurrency. And now I'm down 40% and I can't buy a comforter for my daughter. So fuck you, Aaron Rodgers. And he just walked off. If you haven't seen that YouTube video, just like check it out. Because Kenny Mayne being Kenny Mayne and just telling Aaron Rodgers to fuck off is just incredible.
I hadn't heard about that. That sounds awesome.
It was amazing. Anyway, Rodgers is currently in Hawaii, but he is in the news, and it makes for that Capital One event will be good. Hopefully he's not member of the Broncos by that point. Shailene Woodley, that's his girlfriend's name, fiance's name. Actress.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so that's this week's edition of the Clubhouse. They are at the Colonial with the Wells Fargo or something like that this week. And, you know, we're only a few weeks away from the U.S. Open, so. Now, on this week's edition of High and Outside, we're going to run a new segment called...
A new one.
Yeah, a new segment called Who's Next Door? So, if you're not familiar, there is a social media type app, like Facebook for... Communities? Yeah, community, that's a good one. Social community. It's for, like, you know, if you're not familiar with Nextdoor, it's like people can go on there and, like, post, like, that they're selling stuff or that there's been a break-in or that, you know, somebody, like, whatever, like, look out for this animal. Like, if somebody loses a dog, like, it's there to be community posts. But sometimes these posts can be somewhat entertaining. The things that people get upset about, the comments in particular are a lot of fun. So we decided we're going to give you the best of Nextdoor, and I'm just going to read it to Commish on camera because he does not know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I don't use Nextdoor.
So, a couple of ones. First of all, they have to put, like, headlines. Like, your post has to have, like, a title, basically. And so sometimes just scrolling the headlines is good. So this one is not the actual best of Nextdoor, Who's Next Door this week, but the first one that caught my eye was how to make friends that aren't on drugs, ?
What?
Yeah, it just says I've been here for 5 years and have had the worst time making friends, but all the friend groups that I have gotten in, they never wanted to hang out, and it turns out they were cooking meth, so I kind of want to stay away from that. And then it just says, no offense. And then in the comments...
Don't want those tweakers to be offended.
In the comments, someone just said, I just want to say I think it's wise to avoid making friends with people who manufacture meth. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. Alright, so...
I don't even know how to deal with that.
Here's the next one. Oh my god. This is the best of Nextdoor, of the Nextdoor. Who's Next Door this week?
This is the tagline, if you will.
So the title is Spray Painting Squirrels. It just says someone keeps spray painting squirrels red in North Merriam. Why? This is at least squirrel number 2. Stop it. You are going to kill them. There's a picture of a squirrel with a painted red tail.
Is it really painted or just a red squirrel?
No, it's painted, I think.
Shit.
But the comments are gold. The comment says, maybe the squirrels are rebelling against their mean parents who don't approve of their friends or their tattoos or anything they want to do. And then somebody put problematic squirrels get marked sometimes, tagged, and then trapped and relocated. And it says if the particular squirrel returns and becomes a problem again, it will be permanently removed. Squirrels are a nuisance, blah, blah, blah. Then someone put in their comment to that, like, replied to that and just said, who marks them? And Pam, who already talked about the rebelling squirrels, said their parents do.
Yeah, buddy.
And that is the best of Who's Next Door this week.
I like it. Oh, God. It's hard to move on from that.
Let's go next into the weekly IMG. Commish. What are you watching?
Yawning, apparently. the playoffs of the two sports that are having playoffs right now. And then I caught half of, I think, the first episode.
The Tyson documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. It looks good.
Well, when you talk about, like, Mike Tyson, everybody's like, oh, he's the best. Yeah, Mike Tyson. And
you forget how big of a deal he was, man.
Oh, when you see him, like, boxing and, like, training as, like, a 16-year-old, goodness. Just knock people the fuck out.
Yep.
Fast. Oh. Yeah, it's good so far. I only saw half the first episode, but I want to get caught up. It's really good.
Yep. I'm also watching the playoff series, obviously, and then I've been actually going back to Anthony Bourdain lately. Just getting back into, like, watching some travel stuff. Like,
No Reservation.
Yeah, Parts Unknown, No Reservation, The Layover, all of them are good. Been watching that. And then I've been listening to that new Olivia Rodrigo album, which is, like, taking over the internet, and it's, like, maybe corny, but it's actually pretty damn good music, so check that out. Highs and lows. Commish.
I had a really good driving range session yesterday. Got a good feel going. And
Nice.
then,
Swing feels always good.
yes, it made sense. I was hitting it pretty well. I was pretty happy with that. And then my low is it's about to get, like, damn hot and damn humid. But I still like hot over cold. And we are going to be in the desert in, like, not that long.
Vegas, baby.
Woo. Easy peasy, Vegas is.
My high is long weekend.
You have to work tomorrow?
No, Memorial Day is this weekend.
Oh, yeah. It totally is. Totally. Yeah, hell yeah. Add that to my high, baby.
Yeah, man. 3-day weekend. And then my low is that I had again, we talked about this last week, I had my wisdom teeth out, so I still can't really, like, do a lot of shit with I can't chew a lot of things or eat some things, which is really, honestly, worse than all of the pain, in my opinion. Like, because I'm, like, such a food person that, like...
Most people are like to eat.
You know what I mean. It's frustrating to me, but I know it's frustrating to all people, but it's the worst part for me. Anyway.
I still found it impressive when you made that cheesecake on Saturday morning, when you decided to do it at 9 p.m. and then at 8:30 a.m. from Whole Foods, everything necessary, just whip that shit out. The future.
Yeah, pretty much.
We are in. You told me I was like that. I would have never thought to do that,
Yeah.
but that is like clutch.
Yep. It was amazing. It's become one of my bad habits. They like watching like food videos late at night and then like be like,
Shit,
I can make
do
this.
that.
I don't have the groceries. Oh, well, somebody will deliver in the morning.
Pretty soon there'll be drones.
Oh, yeah.
Doing that shit. Like, oh man.
Amazon, we're going to have drones. Like, it's not that far out.
And then Domino's apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazon just bought MGM. Did you see that?
I did not see
MGM
that.
Studios. So they're going to have all the Bond movies. They're going to have all sorts of, tons of stuff.
I'm just gonna have to call it the United States of Amazon at one point. Like, goodness, thank you.
It is wild. But maybe now it's time for something that is not owned by Amazon. I can't eat waffles, but I can eat eggs. So, Waffle House.
Waffle House.